Sometimes you might hear from your friends or colleagues, "This place is so political," or "He is so political." Usually, when people refer to somebody being political, they mean it in a bad way. And there are reasons why political behavior is often painted black. But it is not all that simple. Let's figure out, what exactly is political behavior? We say that certain behavior is political, when it has an objective to achieve power. It's that simple. So, when you call to your friends on Facebook and ask them to sign a petition for you, you are doing politics. You want to gain a little power by gathering an improvised coalition around some issue, in order to influence someone or something. Or, when you shoot on your smartphone camera somebody doing something illegal or unethical in order to post it public online, this is also political behavior. In this case you are engaging general public, calling for public condemnation, in order to put more pressure on somebody. One more example. When a colleague of yours is flattering the boss, hoping to become a boss's favorite, get privileges, this is also political. As you can see, political behavior is neither good nor bad by default. It just is. People are inherently involved in power relations, and it is natural that people try to gain more power in order to achieve something through influence. It all depends on the exact way power is gained, and what purpose it is used for. However, political behavior should be minimized in the context of workplace. Managers know that political behavior may take more than 50% of employees' time at work. In some cases, it is distractive. Political behavior can have bad consequences for organizations' psychological atmosphere. And, if you look at it from another perspective, political behavior itself is often a consequence, or a symptom of bad management, culture, some organizational problems. Let's see what one can do in order to gain or maintain power at a workplace. Let's start with ethical political behavior. First, as you know from the video on 5 power bases, power is often based on resources that one can use as a reward to influence others. So, gaining control over organizational resources is one obvious way of gaining power. What could that be? For example, you can get involved in decision-making, often on voluntary basis, concerning human resource questions, such as promotions, project assignments, on-the-job training, and so on. Networking. This can help you to gain power in different ways. Connections provide access to important information that is unavailable to others. Information, but also access to certain people, is a resource too. Help your boss succeed. Ability to solve problems is an important power base. Just make sure that you focus on important problems, and that people know of your ability. In general, be visible, be active. You can be the best of experts in the company, but if people don't know about it, your expertise will give you no power. Remember, that expert power is based on perception. Finally, simply be a nice guy. Avoid, or manage conflicts well. Be credible, be reliable, be helpful, be interesting. This will help you to develop your referent power base. Without it, other political tactics might fail. Now let's see what a very bad person would give you as an advice on how to be more powerful in an organization. I strongly discourage you to follow this advice though. First, maintain your expert power at any cost. Cover up mistakes. Find a scapegoat to put blame for your failures on somebody else. The most powerless person around would be a good choice. Take credit for the achievements of others. For example, present your colleagues' ideas as your own. Downplay the contribution of your teammates. Manage impressions well. Make yourself look important, socially connected, busy, professional. Appear dedicated. Appear important, try to be seen with important people. Copy important people when you send emails. Talk about yourself. Only good things, of course. Don't hesitate to exaggerate or lie if necessary. Finally, intimidate your opponents. Threaten them, harass them psychologically. Be a bully. As I mentioned at the beginning, political behavior is generally bad for organizations. Even though some political tactics are called ethical, it would be nice if people didn't have to use those. Not to mention unethical tactics. People use ethical political tactics, such as networking, trying to be visible, trying to get control over resources, when they feel that this is what will help them to succeed, for example because in this organization, performance doesn't matter that much, or because others are using political tactics too. Political behavior, both ethical and unethical, distracts employees from performance, induces dysfunctional conflicts, spoils general psychological atmosphere. There are circumstances in which political behavior becomes more common in organizations. For example, when an organization is undergoing a change, such as a change in leadership, or a change in structure, political behavior intensifies. When resources are limited, for example when an organization is going through hard times, layoffs are common, promotions are rare, employees will be more likely to rely on political tactics to gain some scarce benefits for themselves. Organizational culture may promote political behavior through its unethical values, or lack of good values. For example, in organizations where sexism, ageism, or discrimination and harassment in general are tolerated, or not penalized strictly enough, bullying and harassment will be used by employees as a means of interpersonal competition, or simply as a means of fixing someone's ego, or self-esteem problem. Ambiguity of any kind leads to political behavior. For example, unclear roles and job descriptions, unclear organizational structure, unclear or subjective performance evaluation, all this creates conditions propitious to opportunistic, therefore, political behavior. Low level of trust among colleagues, and to the leadership is another factor that contributes to political behavior. Finally, I would like to say a few words on how individuals may unite in order to gain power and exert influence as a group. Organizing people for collective action, mobilizing supporters, is one important aspect of leadership. How does it work? As you know, power is in dependency. The thing is, that dependencies can add up. For example, there might be a big imbalance of dependency between you alone and your boss, meaning that you depend on your boss more than your boss depends on you, therefore you have very limited ability to influence your boss or the entire organization. But there is no imbalance of dependency between you and tens of your colleagues that stand by you, and your boss on the other side. So, how exactly can groups exert influence through collective action? For example, employees can join coalitions against somebody, or something, for example to oppose new unfair work regulations, or policies. Coalitions are usually formed temporarily, in order to achieve a specific goal. Otherwise, unions, such as labor unions, can serve as powerful groups in the long term, putting constant pressure on organizations. Groups can send petitions to authorities in order to signal their will and determination. Unions and coalitions can organize strikes, they can boycott regulations and authorities in a united manner. Groups or individuals may engage in networking outside of the organization in order to bring in some third party to influence the organization. That could be NGOs, journalists, regulators, and so on. Talking about journalists. Whistleblowing, that is, denouncing illegitimate organizational actions on public, revealing unethical or even illegal actions of your organization, is another tactic that often makes a lot of noise in the media. Sabotage is an extreme example of collective power tactics that involves obstruction or destruction of something. It is often seen as illegitimate tactics, therefore should be avoided. On this slide, I mark legitimate collective power tactics in green, the illegitimate one in red, and I mark whistleblowing in gray, because whistleblowing is a controversy tactics, cases of which often become subject of debate. Think about Edward Snowden, or Julian Assange. Although, many popular cases of corporate whistleblowing are legitimate, from all points of view. As an example, you can read about the case of Enron, that happened back in 2001. That's all, for the topic of political behavior. Now you know that political behavior is what individuals or groups do in order to achieve or maintain power. Political behavior can be ethical, or unethical. But from the organization's point of view, any political behavior is bad. Although, of course, unethical political behavior is much worse. You now know some individual, and also collective political tactics. Next, please read an article on how to deal with bullying and harassment at work. Then, take a quiz on the topic of political behavior. Enjoy your learning.